Hey everyone, welcome to another foil deck video. It's been a while actually since I've posted one of these. And yeah, if you haven't seen the previous ones, what I usually do in this video, in these types of videos, is I show you a foil deck that I own, and I show you all the foils up close. And this is the foiled series, so we always look at foils. And in these types of videos, I'll go through the decks. I usually have already shown these decks on the channel before through a deck tech. I've probably shown you some matches with them, and now I'm actually going to show you the foils, the actual physical cards that I used to play before, you know, the big thing that we're currently dealing with. So if you haven't seen this deck before, if you haven't seen the deck tech, I suggest you take a look. I'll post in the description of this video just to get a better idea of what the deck is all about. But it's pretty fun to play. And I got a new tool in the new Zendikar Rising set. But right now we are looking at Time Warp. I actually really like this version of Time Warp, even though the original art is the iconic art for Time Warp. I actually like the promo version. Let's see how close I can get here. So take a look at that. That is pretty cool foiling, I have to admit. It's not overdone. The DCI, this era of DCI promo foiling is actually pretty good. Let's get pretty close there. That looks pretty sweet. So yeah, Time Warp. Pretty fun card to abuse, and it's fun to abuse when you're not playing in a typical, you know, the mono blue decks. Those were kind of boring, and you know, the whole point was just to last forever. And it would last, you know, one game would last an hour, and then it was kind of stupid. But no, Temur Warp Midrange is actually a fun Time Warp abuse deck. A lot more interactive, you know, a lot less degenerate, I would say. A lot more fair. And of course, another very important piece of this deck, Tamio, Collector of Tales. Such a fun card to play with. And I am a fan of the stained glass version of these Planeswalkers. I mean, to be fair, it's basically the same art, but just, you know, they added random lines everywhere. But I like that. So if the stained glass version exists, I usually get it. The foiling on these is not that bad, actually. It's pretty tame. Take a look at her ability there. So yeah, the foiling on these is pretty tame, actually, so it's good. I don't necessarily like overbearing foiling, like in Double Masters, although, I mean, I also like the foiling there, but it's very strong and apparent. Yeah, and the stained glass ones, at least the Tamios, they're not that bad. Of course, as you guys know, I double sleeve all of my cards, whether they're in a deck right now or not. And I use KMC Perfect Fit Hards as the inner sleeve, and I use KMC Hypermats as the outer. Of course, the very famous Renin 6, another hilarious card to play in this deck. Also, unfortunately expensive card. It took a while for me to swallow the cost on this. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's the only printing of it, at least in foil. I know it's on the list for the Zendikar Rising set boosters, but I don't think you can get it in foil. So the foil has maintained its value. I think it's going to maintain its value for a while. I mean, they can't really print this in a standard set, so it's only going to be able to come out in a master set. Foiling on this is actually pretty strong. I think a lot of the Modern Horizons foilings, well, it's a stupid thing to say. Of course, they would all be strong because it's all the same. They're not going to use different types of foilings for specific cards usually in the same set. So that's that for what I would consider the core, I guess. Let's move on to some creatures. All right. So let's get started with Arbor Elf. Of course, everyone is super interested in seeing the foiling of this Arbor Elf, right? Core 2013. Oh, I'm super sure that this is why you even clicked on this video, to see the foiling of Arbor Elf. No, let's be serious. But to be oh boy, this is not near mint. But it's okay, it's Arbor Elf. Very, very cool. Iconic art for Arbor Elf. I believe this is the original art. Uh-oh, I don't want to be an idiot now. Pretty good foiling. Nothing spectacular here. But sometimes that's all you want in a foil. Poor Ice-Fang, man, once Astrolabe bit the ban bin, this card just dropped. It's only sees fringe play, I guess, in Modern now. But I still enjoy playing with it, where it fits. It's a bit harder to get its, its little ability there with having enough snow permanents in play to get a death touch, but let's take a look at the foiling here. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool foiling. Again, yeah, the foiling is pretty consistent so far on the Modern Horizons. Very, very nice. Yeah, poor Ice-Fang. I still think it's a cool card. It's still a cool creature. You just don't have turn 1 Astrolabe anymore. Oh, Tarmogoyf. Sometimes I regret getting this version, not because I hate the card, or I mean, obviously don't hate the card, or I meant the art, but I don't know, something about the second generation art, so Modern Masters 2013, that's the art that really gets me. But this art's pretty cool. It grew on me. And now, well, I'm stuck with it. I'm not getting rid of this. I believe it's still the most valuable version of Tarmogoyf foil if you're not looking at Future Sight, obviously. Very, very cool. It's pretty straight as well. Hasn't been curling. There's a bit, but I think it was like that when I got it. I do keep these in a pretty dry environment. I think about 20%. I just checked it. It was at 20% humidity, relative humidity, so that's pretty good. You want to keep it as dry as you can. Of course, the infamous Uro. The infamous Uro, still legal in modern, but definitely banned in Standard. Oh, you died for Omnath's sins, and Omnath got banned anyway. Poor Uro. All it wanted to do was, for 3 mana, gain you some life, draw you a card, put a land onto the battlefield, give you some ramp there. What's wrong with Uro? Nothing. You can deal with it. Especially in Modern, there are plenty of tools at your disposal. Very cool extended art. Very, very nice. Still costs a pretty penny, so I mean, I definitely took a hit in the value of this particular foil. But it wasn't that bad. Could have been worse. Alright, so that's it for the creatures. Let's move on. Okay, now we're looking at the rest of the cards, the rest of the non-land cards. Mishra's Bauble, still illegal. I think it's safe to say that at this point they're not going to ban it. It's not being abused anymore. The foiling is pretty intense on this. Yes, I did not get the original because, you know what, it's the same art. Why should I pay more for the same? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Financially, if I need to sell these really quick, this version is going to sell faster than the original, obviously. And especially when you're looking at artifact art like this, where whatever, it's nice, but there's nothing special about it. It's not that easy to sell quickly, so you gotta think about liquidity. You never know when you want to get rid of it. And you don't want to wait 6 months to sell it, and you don't want to sell it for a very low price because you're in a rush. So sometimes I take that into account when I'm buying cards. especially foils, which generally speaking take a bit longer to sell anyway. So Utopia Sprawl is next. It was hard to get my 4th Utopia Sprawl, only because of the situation in the world right now. Mail has been slow, and sometimes mail has been elusive, and it just gets lost. It never shows up, so you got to reorder. But all 4 finally got here. They kept the same art. I'm happy about it. This art is beautiful. I see no reason to change it. Look at that. Beautiful art. Beautiful use of colors. Really fits with the theme of what Utopia Sprawl does. Yeah, I think that's cool. Yeah, sometimes original art is just fine. You don't need to update it. My favorite lightning bolt art. Local artist drew up this lightning bolt. I have a bigger version of it signed by the artist on my wall. I think it's great. Beauty. Oh yes, look at that foiling. In the right light, it's bright as hell. Poor dude getting zapped. I always love seeing it. It's funny. I know a lot of the lightning bolt arts, they have a similar theme. Something's getting zapped. I just like that there's like a claw in the sky here. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, been using this since forever. At one point I had the original Judge lightning bolt art cards. I got rid of them. It wasn't for me. And Remand. Not the original art Remands. But I like this art, so I stuck to it. Again, F&M foiling. It's really not that aggressive. The art itself also doesn't allow for insane foiling, because you have a lot of dark spots here. But that's not a bad thing. Poor guy. Don't worry, it's only temporary. Remand was always temporary. Cool. So that does it for the spells. Again, if you're interested in this deck, check out the deck tech. I will post it in the description of this video. Let's get on to the lands to finish this off. Alright, it's time for the lands. Snow-covered, the new snow-covered full art foils. Beautiful. I love that these exist, even though they don't see too much play. I mean, listen, they're just basic mountain. I mean, they're basic lands, right? So you could play it in any deck, even if snow is not a theme. Cool. Nothing too. I'm not too crazy about the mountain art, but whatever. Gotta stay on theme because I do like the forest and the islands. So at least the snow-covered ones. That's what I mean. I like this. This is pretty cool. I like snow time in general. We have 6 months of it up here in Canada, so you kind of have to like it if you want to survive, really. But the holidays are also a fun time for me, so when I see card art like this, I really like it. I have to admit, the foiling is strong enough on the Modern Horizons cards that it drowns out a bit of the land art. I find it's true for the forest and it's true for the mountain as well. I don't remember about the island. I think the island was okay. Yeah, the island is not as bad in terms of the artwork getting drowned out. But still, I mean, look at that foiling. Very, very cool. Yeah, no, but I like the art overall. And I definitely prefer this to the original ones. Of course, the expeditions. Oh boy, remember this, everybody? I was lucky. I think I opened a watery grave, a wooded foothills, and a stomping ground over the course of the Battle for Zendikar thing, that era. I got pretty lucky at that time. I actually opened one when a friend of mine gave me a pack he didn't want anymore, so I said, okay, I'll open it up. Lo and behold, I opened up an expedition, and then I rubbed it in his face. We're still friends, don't worry about it. Alright, Stomping Ground. Unlike the Steam Vents, I'm not a fan of the Stomping Ground art on the expeditions. Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. Some art does, some doesn't, and just this doesn't. Also, I feel like the art almost hides or eats the foiling. You know what I mean? Kind of hides there. It's just the color choices in the art, basically. Either way, if I'm going to have one expedition, they all have to be expeditions. Unfortunately, that's how it works when you want to be consistent, and it would bother the hell out of me if they weren't all the same, so. Breeding Pool's okay, in terms of the expedition art. See how the foiling is a lot stronger on the art here? Again, it's highly dependent on the color choices of the artwork itself. Very, very cool. Good old expeditions. Even though this is old, it's not that curled. It's pretty good. Cool. Let's get on to the fetches, and we'll wrap this video up. Goodbye, lands. All right. Last but not least, the fetches. To round off the lands and all the cards in this deck, at least in the main 60. Prismatic Vista. They just reprinted this as an expedition in the new Zendikar Rising set. But I actually like this artwork. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And if I'm correct, the value of this art went up after the printing of the expedition. I might be wrong there, but I'm almost certain that's what I noticed. Which is interesting. Not too sure why that's the case. Good old Misty Rainforest. I also have this art blown up a bit on my wall. Maybe one day if this channel becomes big enough, I'll give you a tour of my office slash geek cave slash recording studio. I've already shared some photos here and there on my Twitter, so you can find some shots there. If that type of stuff interests you, I really like this art. And last but not least, Wooded Foothills. Same artist that did that lightning bolt, by the way. Unfortunately, not a fan of this art. Again, I don't blame the artist because her other work is great. I think just probably the art direction wasn't fantastic. I mean, I get it. I mean, the art makes sense. It does seem like a wooded foothill. I mean, I don't see the hill, but I see the wooded. Nonetheless, the foiling is pretty standard. Not as bad as the from the vaults. And curling wise, no real curling. Seems pretty straight. So after all these years, they've held up pretty well. So that's it for this foiled deck video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stick around for more. Every Wednesday I have a foiled series video, whether it's opening up a sealed product like a collector's booster or it's a mail day. Yeah, plenty of foiled videos coming up. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content in general, please subscribe, hit notification bell, follow me on Twitter. All that stuff really helps me out a lot. Thank you. Big thank you to my patrons as well for supporting me on Patreon. If you're interested in becoming a patron, check out the link in the description. Thanks and have a good one.